Welcome to Real Estate Investing Abundance, the show for busy, fulfilled professionals like you to learn how to develop financial independence built on solid, passive real estate investments. Now, here is your host, Dr. Alan Lomax.
Hello, enlightened investors. Welcome back to Real Estate Investing Abundance. I'm your host, Dr. Alan. We are going to take a look today at growing profitability through marketing. With us today is Craig Simpson, and he is the founder of Simpson Direct, the go-to for market direct mail marketing campaigns. With over 300 million sales pieces mailed and a diverse range of successful campaigns, Simpson Direct is the expert in maximizing our marketing investment. From concept to completion, the Simpsons team handles every aspect effectively and cost efficiently. They've boosted profits for businesses in various industries, including real estate, tech, healthcare, and fitness. So welcome back to the show, Craig. And Craig is a veteran of our show. He's with us, I think it's over 2 years ago. So we're glad to have you back with us, Craig. And we're going to talk today, as I mentioned, about marketing, which is an essential part of any business, but it's a mystery to many of us, no matter how long we have stayed in it seems like. So, Craig, what inspired you to delve into the science of advertising and essentially take the guesswork out of promotional materials?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me back. I love being on your show, so I appreciate you having me back today. And what I love about direct mail marketing, it's a mixture of science and creativity. You have the creativity of the sales piece where you've really got to figure out what is going to make people respond. What are we going to say to motivate people to respond? And then how's it going to look? How's that look and changing look going to be appealing to them? So we have the creative side, and then we balance it with the scientific side, which I like as well, which is about the number side of things. Who are we going to mail to? How many pieces? What should that person look like? What are their demographics and psychographics? What are the things that we know about them, numbers and all sorts of details to make it so that they're a perfect customer for us to mail to? So I love the mixture of the two, and that's why I've really studied this for going on 30 years now.
Well, I think that's one of the biggest mysteries for those of us who really are not directly involved in marketing, or I should say, we're not the creators of marketing campaigns and what have you, even though we do marketing all the time. There's always that big question of who are we going to mail to maximize our dollars in this, and it always seems like kind of a crapshoot. So how is it that you have come to actually, I guess, not necessarily take the art out of it? As you said, it's a combination of art and science, but how have you come to determine more the science side of that to really make it a more effective process?
Sure. Well, the one thing I always start out with is talking to customers, talking to people like you, or say, okay, tell me who your best customers are now. Like, what do they look like? If you were to take your last 10 customers you worked with, or the last 100 or last 1,000, depending on the size of the business, what do they look like? What are the commonalities between them? What are their hobbies, their interests? What's their age, their income? Where do they live? What do they like to do? What are their habits? And the more we know about your existing customers, the good ones, the better job we can go out and find people that look just like them. And there'll be signs that come across from looking at your customers that you can say, okay, here's some key things that really stand out to me that, maybe it's most of my customers, 8 out of 10 are male. Most of those are age 60 to 70. Most of those are married. Most of them live in metro areas. We can start going down the list of all the things. And as we add more of these really key characteristics, it shrinks the universe of who we have to mail to and market to until we have a really as small group as we can to market our products and services to.
Well, when we start into marketing campaigns, how do we determine the appropriate wording and phrasing that effectively grabs our reader's attention and really starts to drive that sales process?
Sure. What I like to tell people is when we're trying to figure out what do we need to say to them to get them to respond, I like to know what is that keeps them up at night? What is the thing, the burning thing that's bothering them that makes whatever you're selling appealing to them? So if it is the more pain point, the biggest pain that they might have, if it's something you're offering a solution to, that's what we want to address. Now, obviously, not everyone's thinking about the one thing you're dealing with every single night, but we got to think about what are those main pain points? Why would they want to contact you? What are they struggling with? So we talk about the pain, and then we talk about the solutions. And in between, we try and relate and connect with them. You know, the fact that I was once there, I dealt with these things as well. And now here are the solutions. This is what brought me freedom. This is what made me more money. This is what brought me peace. This is what brought me health. Whatever the solutions we're bringing to them, we've got to describe how it changed our lives by getting this solution. So pain and solution is really the easiest form of copywriting and motivating a prospect to respond.
Well, in terms of the pain point and the solutions, you also suggest that we appeal to the vanity of the person that we're marketing to. How can we do that? I mean, we're mass mailing all of these things, and every person is an individual and is going to have different vanity points. So how do we appeal to the vanity without sounding like we're kissing up to them, and that it's legitimate, and do that in a mass marketing campaign?
Right. Well, one key thing, and if for the word mass marketing, I love because it means we're mailing lots. It allows us to do a lot of testing, and we can test different key vanity points, things that, you know, really, can I start off with a campaign and know exactly which one is going to motivate people to respond the most? No, we have to test those things. And so maybe we start out with a test panel of 2 or 3 of them. Everything is the same between the mail pieces, but we change that key vanity point and we test it and we say, okay, which one of these 3 is going to work best? And we mail it out and we get the results and we look at it. And then maybe we take that winner and we test some other things against it. You know, testing is key in all of this, whether it's testing vanity points or testing headlines or testing offer or response mechanism. We've always got to be constantly testing. And that's what will tell us what are the best motivating factors to get people to respond. Now, you know, some people may be saying, well, I'm only mailing 1,000 pieces. Well, cut that in half. Mail 500 one version, 500 another version. Learn something every time you mail. Constantly learn. And then you can take what you've learned and apply it to the next campaign and then test something else.
Well, I like the aspect of actually testing our markets and really testing the effectiveness of what we're doing. It seems like, to me, I mean, that's become more and more important. And it seems like I'm constantly testing the waters in various different ways and means. And it seems like it's a never-ending process. I'd like a whole lot more assurance out there in terms of.
Yeah, I mean, testing is a never-ending process. I mean, it doesn't matter. There's companies that I've worked with that we mail 100 million pieces in a year. We don't stop testing. We're mailing 100 million pieces, but we don't have it figured out. We're always finding a way to beat or improve or change. The market changes slightly sometimes. So we've got to change, you know, is it a different format? Is it a different headline? Is it a different offer? Different copy? We're always constantly testing. So you're never going to find that perfect piece. And as soon as you find that perfect piece, and you get comfortable with it, then all of a sudden the response is going to go down, right? Because it'll eventually saturate out or something will change. So you may think you found it, but really in reality, you've got to constantly test. And there are literally hundreds of things to test. You just have to figure out what are the things that are going to have the biggest impact on response. Now, the things that I always focus on first are the main approach or angle. What is the theme of the piece? That's one huge thing to test because, you know, 2 different approaches may get totally different responses. So the theme is a big part of that. Format is a big testing point. Are we mailing postcards or letters or self-mailers? Headlines is big. And then also the offer. What is it that we're offering them to respond? If it's a free book versus a free kit with a book and information and reports and also a box full of goodies, which one's going to work better? Well, probably the box full of goodies, but let's test it to find out. Bonuses and guarantees and all those things also can be added in and tested. That would help increase response. So I look for the biggest areas of opportunity to increase response, and that's what I test first.
I guess one of the more challenging things, certainly for me in the recent months here, is reaching out to new markets. Now, you say that we can find those new markets essentially by looking at what our current clientele is. But if we're reaching out, really trying to establish new markets beyond those current kinds of demographics, that's where, to me, it becomes really challenging, because when we're sending out the marketing pieces, it's like we're not getting any response from this. Is it the market we're reaching out to? Is it the content? Is it the offer? All of those different variables. It could be all three. It could be just one of those.
Sure. Well, if you don't mind, let's talk through it a little bit. What is the difference between the old market and the new market? Do you mind telling me what the new market is?
Well, it's a whole new clientele. We're actually reaching out to people essentially in the psychological community, who they're psychologists, mental health providers in different ways and shapes and forms, and coaches, people who are essentially working with mental health or with mindset in various different kinds of ways. And we, of course, are reaching out for passive investors is what we are looking for.
Yeah. And compare that to, what is the market that you've done best in so far?
Well, all of our clientele currently are currently investors in some way, shape, or form.
Yep.
And the clientele we're reaching out to are they've not necessarily have been investing. Certainly they haven't been investing in real estate.
But you're trying to go to people of affluence, possibly, who might have some extra money, and you pick these professions.
Right.
So what I would do is the messaging would be similar. I mean, we can't talk at a high level with them because they're not investors yet. But some of the same themes and things that have worked for you going to investors should work for this group as well. The question is, which one of these groups are going to be most likely to respond? And what I would do is, okay, let's talk about psychologists. That's one group. We're going to speak to them. The copy's going to mention their trade a little bit in there. And then I'm probably going to do the same thing with dentists. And maybe it's CEOs or business owners. We're going to put a couple different buckets here, and we'll speak to each one differently. And we're going to track them all separately. Because what I think you'll find is that some are going to respond better than others, because not all those professions are the people who are in those professions are not set up mentally to handle this type of investing. It's just not in it's not in their realm. It's not something they would do. Whereas there are others who are a little bit more entrepreneurial, who are like, yeah, this is right up my alley. For example, just from experience and working with dentists and, say, psychologists, the dentists should perform significantly better. If we're going to entrepreneurs and business owners, they should respond very well, better than somebody in the health, say a general practitioner, a doctor. So by putting them in different buckets, we can kind of look and see which one of these groups are going to respond best. And then we can go after more that look just like them, or find other similar industries. So maybe if you find that dentists work, maybe go to orthodontist, or if you find that, entrepreneurs are working and business owners, maybe dig into that category deeper.
Sounds like some good advice. And it just takes, like you said, it just takes testing and constant testing. But I like your suggestion that when you find a niche that seems to be working, then we can start to focus on that and develop that, and maybe put the others to the back burner.
Yep.
till a later time.
Yep.
Enlightened investors, if you haven't done so already, be sure and click that like button and also click that share so others can take advantage of the content. And finally, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single one of our upcoming episodes. Well, what are some suggestions for opening our letters so that they don't just sound like a marketing pitch and they don't just sound boring and mundane? How do we open these letters?
Sure. So I have to, when it comes to getting the mail piece open, it's an envelope package, you mail it to them. I have two theories on this. One is if you know the burning desire that they need answered, then you put that on the outside of the envelope with what's called teaser copy. You actually let it be known, here's the answer, or here's what we're going to talk about. It's got to be something you know that's going to grab their interest. Mm-hmm. If you're uncertain of exactly what you need to say to them, as if you're sitting across the table from them, if you don't know how you would start or what you would say to them, then you have to do this other option, which is keep it completely blind. Don't tell them who it's from. Don't put a return address on it. Just make it plain. Make it look like you have no clue what's inside. See, somebody can't throw away a blank envelope because they don't know what's inside. They don't know if it's a letter from the government. They don't know if it's a letter from an aunt. They don't know if it's a letter from a friend. They have no clue. They are forced to open it up. So the blind approach is always the safest approach. However, if you know what you need to say to them, that teaser copy can be extremely powerful in giving you a heightened response. So those are the two options.
Well, you're talking about, you had mentioned earlier postcards, and we're talking here about envelopes.
Yep.
What is your suggestion between the two? Do you do a mix of them, or do you have a preference for letters actually within envelopes, or are postcards better?
Yeah. Boy, that's a tough question. A lot of it depends on the response. Some markets, we are high volume, low response rate, meaning we're mailing tens of thousands of pieces every single week. We get a really low response rate. We don't get, we get 0.1% or 0.2 or maybe even 0.3% response. We're not getting a lot. And therefore, we can't spend a lot of money on the actual mail piece. So we mail the cheap postcards, knowing response rate's going to be really low. On the flip side, if we're mailing less or we're mailing where we're going to get a higher response rate and we're asking for a bigger level of commitment, then the letter makes sense. If I'm selling a product or service, I've got to mail a letter because I need to tell them more of the story before I can get them to buy. Or if it's something that they may not be interested in, they're not totally thinking about every single day, and I've got some convincing to do, then I need to mail a letter, even if it's a free offer, because it just might take a little bit more effort to get that point across. So if it's a super low response, I go with postcards. If it's something where we've really got to educate or really get them to understand what it is we're selling or whatever, we've got to tell more of a story, then I like letters.
So it depends.
Yes, it does. There's no flat answer for it, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
You have, I guess, kind of recently, you've gotten into this aspect of modeling. Can you explain to us what you're talking about when you're talking about modeling?
Well, I've actually been doing modeling for probably almost 30 years now. Back before the internet, there were ways to model customers, and modeling is fascinating and it's wonderful stuff. Basics where we take your list of customers, the best ones, and we need to have on a minimum, there's some places that will do it for a minimum of 250 customers. I prefer to have thousands, because the more customers you have that you can put in the model, the more accurate the results will be. And basically, we go to a large database, and let's say it's Experian or Equifax, and I'm just using them as an example. They're a big database company that acquires all sorts of information about people. And they match your customers up to that database, and then they pull all the key characteristics, and usually it's anywhere from 50 to 100 different characteristics that they append to your customers, and then they go and find people that look just like them in their database. And their database may have anywhere from 50 million to 100 million or more people on that database. So it's a lot of information, a lot of data. And what it spits back, it can tell you, all sorts of information. It could tell you their hobbies, their interests. Do they like running? Do they like to ride bikes? Do they like to watch football? What kind of credit cards do they use? What is their credit score or range of credit score? What are some of their buying habits? Are they direct mail buyers? Are they online shoppers? You have all this information. So by modeling, taking your customers, finding others that look like them is a fascinating process. And does it guarantee that the people that look just like them are going to be responsive? No, it doesn't. But it will at least get you in front of a herd of people that look like your existing customers.
So once we have this herd of people, what's our next step after that?
So normally the modeling company, I have them break it down into categories of those that match the highest rate down to those that barely match. And we start off with the top 1 or 2 match groups, and we mail a small portion of each of those. We don't mail the whole list. We just do a small portion to test to see if they're responsive. I like to also enhance some segments. So, for example, I would say everyone in this list on this group that matches, they have to be direct mail responders, meaning we have prior history knowing that they've responded to a prior direct mail campaign, which makes them more likely to respond. Another thing I like to do is say, okay, I'm going to enhance this list that they've already modeled and matched to our database, and I want those who are recent responders to a prior marketing campaign because I want them recent and I want them direct mail. And sometimes I'll do a couple of those things to narrow it down even more so that when I run the test, I'm getting the most targeted group.
And so we often hear that, I don't know, it takes 6, 7 touches before we can expect really to get a response. Does that rule still basically apply?
It all depends on what the market is and what you're selling. I mean, there's things that we're going out requesting sales for a newsletter or for survival food or something else, and it's one touch. We send them one mail piece and we get a percentage of them to respond. There's others where we have to hit them 3, 4 times before we can get them to respond. All depends on the market, who it is you're marketing to, and what your offer is. If it's a consumable or something that they're actively buying, then it's easier to get them to buy after one touch point,
Mm-hmm.
You go to people who have joint pain and you're offering them an a cream that's going to take their inflammation away. It's going to make their pain go away. Okay, that's an easier sell than something else, right? So it all depends on what the market is and what you're selling.
Well, in terms of, I mean, is it a cost factor or is it really more about that pain and the solution?
Well, the pain and the solution, because that, like with the joint pain thing, you've got an actual pain. I mean, it could be other pains too. It could be a financial pain. It could be something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they have a real pain and a real solution that they can easily answer and put away, then take care of, then yes, that's a huge part of it.
And I suppose that it would just take even more testing to determine the willingness in terms of the cost. Some people might be willing to pay $25 a treatment.
True.
Others might be willing to pay $300 for a treatment.
That's right.
And so it's going to probably vary considerably from market to market.
That's right. That's right.
Uh,
And again, it's on the level of discomfort and what they're thinking about.
Mhm.
So, for example, let's say that you've got a person you're mailing to and they've got a joint pain and you mail them a joint pain offer. Okay, that's something that may be something reactionary they're thinking about daily that we can get them to buy right away. Let's say that same person, they're of a certain age and income level, and they're a traveler, and you offer them a cruise package. Well, that's interesting to them. It's not keeping them up at night. You may have to hit them a couple more times before they're willing to commit to that cruise. They're the right prospect, but it's not painful enough to them or a desire enough to say, I need to respond today, right? So there's a difference in those things.
So in terms of where there's not all that much pain, is it the attractiveness of the offer that is going to make the difference? Or is it just time?
I think it's a little bit of both. You've got to hit them at the right time too, right? So if you caught them on the week where they're already on the internet searching or they're talking to a travel agent, you have a better chance than the week that they're not, they're just thinking about it, right? So the timing of when it hits them, and are they actively pursuing this desire, and how sweet is the offer? Boy, it's 2 people for $399. Well, I was kind of thinking of it, but now I'm going to do it, right? Or it's, you know what I mean? So the offer and the time play a key role.
Well, can you share with us some of your best successes and how did it all come together?
Wow. Well, I think one of the most successful campaigns that I did, I was working with a dentist, and they still run this campaign today. And we set up this program where the dentist got the ability that they could do treatments, facial treatments for women and help out with wrinkles, doing Botox and filler and all these different things. And so we put together this special invitation that we mailed to their clients. And one of the things is we pitched it as, nobody's going to know that you're getting your face work done because you're in a dental office and we've got all the privacies in place. It's completely clean. I'm trained. I deal with the face and the mouth area all the time. And so we went to this group of women. We did a invitation style mailing, and we got near 17% of them to respond, wow, which is an unreal response rate. I mean, when we talk about best campaigns, but everything came together, right? It was the right time. And we still mail that exact campaign today. And that was years ago that we did it. But it was wow, just, we were able we found the right creative hook. Had we just said, come to the dentist and get Botox, it wasn't going to happen with a postcard. But it was the privacy. Nobody will know, because it is a little bit embarrassing. Not all the women want people to know they're getting Botox and filler and all the things, and that they're trained and that they use this kind of equipment every single day. Like, we went into the whole thing, and it made it really, really unique and special.
Yeah, I could see how that would be really problematic for a dentist to do that in a postcard situation.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the first thought I would have, what in the world is a dentist doing in the facial reconstruction business? It would have just been really, really strange postcard. I would have just tossed it. And I suspect most people would have. So I can see why you would really want something in depth there. Well, from your experience, Craig, what are some of the common misconceptions about customer modeling that arise, and how can we overcome those and avoid those?
Well, in customer modeling, actually running a model on your customers, or just in general trying to figure out who your customers are?
Just in general.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I see most often is that people come to me and they say, well, I'm marketing currently to men 50 plus, but I really want to hit the group. I want to hit the 20 and 30-year-olds. So I'm changing my marketing to go to this group. Well, that group is not who your group is. Just because you want to market to them doesn't mean that you should. Mm-hmm. You always got to focus. Everyone wants to change their market, right? They always want to go to somebody new, somebody different. I want to try something else. But if that something else isn't already responding to your campaigns, there's a reason for that. And so we have to be very narrowly focused on who your customers are, and keep that in mind whatever we're writing, whatever we're mailing, whatever list we're getting. We've got to get everything to look like and connect with who our current customers are, because those are the ones who have spent money. Those are the ones who we really need to go after that look just like them. So don't get distracted with who you want to go to. Keep focused on who you've been going to that's been working.
We're visiting today with Craig Simpson with Simpson Direct. So, Craig, tell us, how is the best way to find you and get in touch with you to utilize your services?
Well, thank you. Yes. So the best way is just to go to my website. It's simpson-direct.com, or go to Google and type in Simpson Direct, Craig Simpson. I'll pop up. And you can go to my website. There's a contact form on there. There's phone number, all the things. And that's really the best way to get in touch with me.
Well, Craig, thanks so much for being with us. Been an informative conversation. We're glad that you could be with us. Enlightened investors, thank you so much for being with us again today. Always appreciate your being here. Until next time, live abundantly, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Enlightened investors, wait, don't go just yet. I just want to remind you about our recently launched webinar that you will not want to miss. If you're at all curious and would like to learn more about how real estate investing can diversify your investment portfolio, alleviate the anxiety associated with Wall Street swings, leverage your 401ks and IRAs to substantially increase the return on your investment, and do all of this with turnkey, hands-off passive real estate investments, then you'll want to immediately go to stevetalker.com/webinar. In the webinar, we'll also address the common dubious investment schemes that you want to avoid. To access the webinar, go to stevetalker.com/webinar. I look forward to seeing you in the webinar.
Thank you for tuning in to Real Estate Investing Abundance, brought to you by Steve Talker Capital, a company working for passionate professionals like you to develop financial independence built on solid, passive real estate investments. As part of our efforts to make the world a better place, Steve Talker Capital contributes to activities and organizations committed to better understand the equine. These endeavors attempt to enhance the human treatment of horses worldwide. Steve Talker Capital, working for a world where all creatures, great and small, flourish abundantly. For resources to develop your financial independence, connect with us at stevetalker.com.